in the Western Conference in the NBA. Because if you were on the live stream, maybe it was like a week ago, the NBA released a article talking about the 10 best players in the Eastern Conference. And so I believe today an article came out with the 10 best players in the Western Conference. So I'm going to talk about the list, whether I agree or disagree with the list, and we can discuss, the order in which they put the players and stuff like that. So, as you could probably guess, number one on the list was Jokic. I guess maybe there would be a debate, between Shea and Jokic, depending on, who it is, because some people may think Shea is the best player in the league now, as some people have given him that title, especially after he won the title. Ironically, the title and title. So I'm not, like I said in a previous live stream when I was talking about that, I don't have any problem with Shea being declared the best player, in the league right now after, everything he did this season. I said I don't disagree with that. I just don't really think about who is the best player in the league. It could be Shea, it could be Jokic. Like I don't think there's a wrong or bad answer. So with that being said, on this list, Jokic is still number one, which again, sounds fine to me. Doesn't sound like it, sounds fair. So Jokic is one, and then obviously, as you can guess, Shea is two. Like I said, those two are, interchangeable right now between most people's opinions. So no issues there, of course. And then number three on the list, I think, might draw some resistance, I guess, for some people. And number three was Anthony Edwards. We know how good Anthony Edwards is, how, good he has been. And obviously, his resume in the playoffs, being able to beat Jokic, people look at that because Jokic, again, is rated the best player in the league. And him and his team took out Denver last year. And then this past postseason, the Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards took out LeBron and Luka. So a lot of people are like, well, Anthony Edwards, again, it's a team sport, of course, but Anthony Edwards is beating the best players, in the playoffs. Like he ended up losing, of course, to Shea. So if you want to use that rationale to say Shea is the best player in the league, again, it's all interchangeable. But the point is, like, Anthony Edwards has, proven to be able to get it done when it counts. And besides that, obviously the talent and the two-way ability and obviously the dunking, like everything Anthony Edwards does, right? And the really incredible, like, increased three-point efficiency this year. Like, Anthony Edwards turned himself into, like, a serious three-point threat. Like, I don't know if you knew what his stats were this year, or if you were watching, but Anthony Edwards was shooting and making threes at a crazy efficient rate, especially compared to his previous years. Like, he really worked on his three-point shot. So now you have to guard him from everywhere. Like, there is no, you can't just, like, leave him at the three-point line. Like, he will score. He will shoot it. He will make 4 or 5 in a row, maybe. So he really worked on that, obviously. So he's been getting better and better at his game every year. So I could understand, though, why some people would be hesitant with Anthony Edwards at 3, because you know who number 4 is? Luka. And Luka, of course, had a down year last year compared to his previous years, but, like, last year was a wild year, so, like, it's not really his fault, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, there's 3 sides to every story, so he is part of, what happened, of course, in his season, but, like, there was so much going on. Like, I feel like last season with the Lakers, it was only a half a season. I feel like that's, you can't really evaluate Luka off of that. But I could see people arguing that Luka is better than Anthony Edwards. And I'm not here to debate that. I feel like it's hard because in ways Anthony Edwards is better, and there are ways that Luka is better. Like, obviously Luka is the better passer. It's not really a debate. It's not to say Anthony Edwards is not a passer and he can't pass and he's not good at it, but like Luka is an incredibly gifted passer. So it's really not, like I said, up for debate. But Anthony Edwards, it's not even close on defense, between him and Luka. So they both have strengths where one of the players is better than the other. So I don't really have an issue with Anthony Edwards at 3 and Luka at 4, but I can understand why some people might have an issue with that. It just depends on your preference. Obviously, if Luka, his defense gets better, that will, take away the advantage that Anthony Edwards has over him, because like it's a big difference on defense. So somebody said, greetings from Argentina. Hello, hello. Hello from Argentina. Kind of cool that, people are watching, internationally, because I'm in the United States. So, hi, like that's really cool that people are watching from like other countries and, other continents. So, hello. So yeah, so I don't really have a problem with Anthony Edwards or Luka, where they are. Number 5 is Steph Curry. Obviously, we know what Steph Curry is, what he's done in his career. There's not really much to say here. I don't have an issue with that. Steph Curry is still one of the best players in the league, and he shows it every time he's on the floor. And I still, if you watch this page, I picked the Warriors to come out of the West last year. And obviously when Steph got hurt, that changed everything. I still, like I always talk about on this channel, it's hard to do a what if, and injuries are unfortunately part of the game. But I still believe if Steph Curry was healthy, that the Warriors were going to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, again, it's a what if. We're not going back in time. And the Minnesota Timberwolves earned, their win over the Warriors. But I'm just saying, like, had Steph Curry had been healthy, I still do think the Warriors at least would have had a really good shot to win at the minimum. I still think they would have won, but they would have had a good shot. Like, we saw how well they were playing in game 1 when Steph was healthy. Steph was going crazy in the first, 10, 11 minutes. So no problem with Steph at 5. Like, I think that's fine. You could put him a little higher, maybe, but like, again, it's like you're talking about the best players, so like, it's not like we're talking about, Luka versus the 500 best player. It's like we're talking about Anthony Edwards versus Luka versus Steph Curry, right? Like, everybody is going to have an opinion on why one of them would be a little bit better than the other. And there's no really wrong answer because they're all so great. So like if someone had Steph Curry 4, I don't see an issue with that either. That's what I'm saying. Like it's really close. But obviously, Luka is in his prime of prime, and Steph Curry is still in his prime technically, but obviously at the latter part of his career. So it might also be part of that too, because if you look at the top 4, they are players who are clearly in their prime. So I'm not saying that necessarily was a factor, but maybe they were also talking about how the player might play next year, like kind of like a projection as well, because as you see as we get further down the list, it's a bit of the older players, if you want to say, no disrespect. None of them are old, of course, but like you'll see that the older quote-unquote players are further down the list. And so I don't know, but it might also be a projection of like, how next season might go for some of these players, in addition to how they played last year. Somebody said, what do you think about the finals this year? If Hallie was good, do you think things could have turned out differently? Well, Hallie was good in the finals. It's just unfortunate that he got hurt in Game 7. I picked the Thunder to win the finals, so they obviously did end up winning, but the Pacers gave them a run for their money. Like, they really did. And, we'll never know how Game 7 would have actually turned out if Halliburton was healthy. I'm not saying it would have changed the outcome. Maybe yes, maybe no. We'll never know. It's always the what if when someone gets hurt. It was so sad to see him go down, obviously, like that in Game 7. And for it to be an Achilles tear, like, that's just so sad to see. But if Hallie plays the whole game and he stays healthy, they definitely have a shot to win, that game and then win the NBA Finals. We'll just never know, unfortunately. But Hallie played well, especially like I guess you're talking about how okay. Obviously, he was big time at the end of game one, hit the big shot, right? I understand statistically and stuff like that, he was not his best in the finals, and I guess that's what you're referencing. Because they were putting, Lou Dort, and they were like trying to lock him up as best as they could because they know that Halliburton is the engine of that team, right? Like they go as he goes. So I guess that's what you're trying to say. I feel like it was his first finals as well as the Thunder, and you could see mistakes happening in real time for both teams. When you're inexperienced, you've never been there. But they were also like putting so much pressure on Hallie. So like, could he have played a bit better? Yes, but like it's also hard, in your first time when like they're literally loading up on you. So, I don't blame him for them losing the finals because again, even with his not best series, they still had a chance to win in game 7, right? So, shout out to Hallie. Hopefully he heals up soon, Same with Jason Tatum and Damian Lillard, all the unfortunate Achilles tears this postseason. So then after 5, 6 on the list was Anthony Davis. That surprised me a little bit, but I don't know, like, because 7 on the list was Kevin Durant. That, how I said, like, the older players are, like, later on the list. I guess I understand why Anthony Davis is 6. Like, we know Anthony Davis, offensively, defensively, 25, per game, and obviously one of the best defenders in the league. But I don't know, it's still Kevin Durant. Like, it's hard to be like Anthony Davis is better than Kevin Durant, but again, I don't know if I disagree. I don't know if I agree. I might put Kevin Durant over Anthony Davis. They both have their injury concerns. They both are injury prone at this point. So I don't know if that's factoring into the decision on why they put Anthony Davis 6, but obviously Anthony Davis is a better defender than Kevin Durant, especially at this point in their careers. But Kevin Durant is the better scorer by far, right? So I think it's close. Again, I don't disagree with AD at 6, but I also wouldn't disagree with KD at 6. AD and KD. And then 8 was Kawhi. 9 was LeBron, and 10 was Victor Wembanyama. So Kawhi at 8 is such a tough one because when Kawhi was healthy for, the ending of the season, he was awesome. He was so good. But like, and again, I guess they're not, I don't know if they're factoring in like injuries into this, but like, I can't, I don't know if Kawhi's going to even play 50 games. And so, like, it's hard to put him on a top 10 list, which was kind of what people were complaining about when Joel Embiid was on the other list, because we don't know if he's going to even play 50 games. It's the same concept. It's like, yeah, they're so good when they're out there, but, like, can they be on the top 10 list if they're only out there for 30 games? I don't know. So, like, that's kind of the debate with that. LeBron at 9. Obviously, he's still a top 10 player, in the Western Conference. That's, fair enough. There's nothing wrong with that. And then Victor Wembanyama, we see he's an up-and-coming talent. And if he plays the way we all expect him to this year, a top 10 player in the West is not unattainable, unachievable. Someone said when AD is on, he can lead a team. KD always needs help. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I feel like when they're both on, they both have their really big impacts, on their teams. Like, they do different things, so they have different impacts. Like, AD, of course, again, is going to be more impactful on the defensive end because that is more his specialty. Whereas KD, like, if you need a bucket, KD will get it and he will make it. This is something I've said about KD, over and over, is that even when players have wide open shots, sometimes, like, obviously nobody's perfect, but like, even when players have wide open shots, sometimes players just miss these shots. When KD is open, like, he does not miss. Like, there is no missing for KD. And so, obviously, if Anthony Davis is at the rim and he's dunking, he's probably not going to miss, right? But like, if you're giving Anthony Davis a 3-point shot, which is obviously what the defense wants, there's not a high probability that he's going to make it because he's only like a 25%, 20% 3-point shooter. Maybe last year, I don't know what his stats were. So like, I think it just depends on what you need at the moment. Like Houston needed scoring. They had defense, they needed scoring. So KD, perfect fit for them. So that's my opinion on the top 10 list. So thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed and see you soon.